Children's books are something you remember from childhood. You carry it through adulthood, and then you share it with your grandchildren. Hello, my name is Dr. Belle Alderman, and I'm at the National Centre for Australian Children's Literature, which is located at the University of Canberra. The centre was established as a National Centre for Australian Children's Books. There was no one else in Australia that was collecting this kind of books. We now have 53,000 books.
Human beings have always used storytelling as a way to learn and record their history, and by storing all the children's literature stuff here, they're preserving our storytelling for Australia. My name is Sally Allen. I've been a teacher for about 20 years. I'm currently studying my Masters of Education Teacher Librarianship, and I'm currently an intern at the Centre for Australian Children's Literature. I am currently working as an EALD teacher, which is a teacher who works with students who English is their second language. I've been doing up a professional development training for our teachers around children's literature. So I use the cultural diversity database to identify books that discuss how children experience the classroom when English isn't their first language.
Because of the success of the cultural diversity database, we got a grant from the Commonwealth Government to produce one on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. They're by and about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. They actually identify the language, if the language is told in the book. They also identify the culture of the writers and the illustrators. That hasn't been done. One of the things that we find is really useful at a university is having students do work experience with us. We have education students, cultural heritage students, creative writing students, public relations, communication. All of those people are interested in what we do. It's called work integrated learning.
I really enjoyed looking at the creative process and how we can see behind the scenes with authors and illustrators the relationships they have with each other. Hi, my name's Jodie Dawson. I completed an internship at Nakaku earlier this year and have continued to volunteer here. It's not just a process of writing a story being done. There's lots of communication and lots of editing that goes on, and I think it's important that people are aware of the depth of this process and how important it is. Being involved in writing annotations for databases, also the translations. I was never aware before I came to Nakaku that Australian authors are so widely recognised throughout the world with the translations in many different languages for some very, very popular titles.
We are very fortunate that NITV is producing a 10-part television series on Leonie Norrington's The Burrumbie Kids series. We believe that that will be very enticing to children, but it will lead them back to the books. We've got the books, we've got research files on Leonie Norrington. She's also created a couple of picture books with Dee Huxley. So we want to actually display that artwork too, and we're going to do this via our website.
I use children's literature in all my teaching. I love to use it as a motivator or a hook for a new topic or content, where start with a book that's got something to do with that theme and then build the discussions and exploration and inquiry around that. I think the archives are doing really important work to providing resources to people all across Australia.
We're going to be a place where you can come and find the books from your childhood that you can share in the creative process. And there isn't really any other place that is so concentrated. We're trying to actually ensure that this is available for the future, that it can be shared. Welcome to the National Centre for Australian Children's Literature. I'd like to share treasures with you, and my name is Dr. Belle Alderman. How did we begin? It all began in 1974 when Lou Rees and the Children's Book Council of Australia thought there should be a national collection of Australian children's literature. And so it began. Then in 1979, it was the International Year of the Child, and Lou said, we have to collect the translations of Australian children's books too. Of course, it outgrew Lou Rees's home very quickly, and the University of Canberra very kindly said, we'd love for you to come to the university where we can make it available to our students and to the world. Then in 1981, publishers began donating their Australian children's books to support the collection. And in 1993, we were reaching out with exhibitions of the books and artwork that we began to collect. We've always seen ourselves as sharing stories. So it's not just books on the shelves, it's actually generating the next creation stories for children and having them involved in writing and illustrating. So here we have two authors and illustrators talking about their books with the next generation of writers and illustrators. Again, here we are trying to reach out. So we're looking at the artwork of Graham Bass for the worst band in the universe. The Belconnen Arts Centre has said, we'd love to have this artwork on exhibition. And so here we're choosing which one of the artworks to go up. We have the preliminaries, we have model clays, we have various scripts for this particular book, which started as a picture book. It was a dramatic book, a whole range of different formats. And on the other side, we have a retrospective exhibition of Bob Graham. Did you know that he's created 90 different books? And we have many of the artworks and the preliminaries that relate to those books. But we knew that we wanted to reach out more than just with children. We wanted to have a chance to share these things with the world. We were inspired by the concept of windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors in which children, as readers, need to see themselves in the books. And we knew that Australia, being one of the most culturally diverse countries in the world, had a range of books that needed to be shared. So we selected those books, annotated them, and identified key concepts, and created a database so that we could share these stories with the world. We also added early years learning framework and the Australian curriculum to make it really useful for teachers in schools. This is what the cultural diversity database looks like. And you can see, if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see the advanced filter options. So you can choose an author, an illustrator, a publisher, a start date, an end date. But you can see here that we've chosen as a key concept refugees, and up comes these particular books. And then with this database, you can click on the jacket cover and you'll come up with an annotation and the curriculum links. The cultural diversity database was very successful, and we were very fortunate then to be funded by the Australian government and a private donor to create another database of children's books by and about Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander peoples. We were guided by First Nations participation throughout the entire process. There were 20 people across Australia. We had 1 year to read all of these books and to make these available. This day now includes over 550 titles that are aimed at birth through adolescence. It supports educators, homeschooling, youth workers, and the world. Anyone can access this. It's a free database available from our website. This is a screenshot that shows you what the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander database looks like. You can see this is much more complex. We were funded very generously by the government. So you can see that you can do things, again, like the cultural diversity database. You can look at the curriculum links, but you can also look at the language. How important is that to be able to have the Aboriginal languages identified? So this database does that. It also identifies the cultural background of the author and the illustrator, if we're able to find that. It has over 600 different subjects. And the beauty of this database is that you can share it on social media, on your Twitter or your Facebook, or you can send a link for the books that you found to your colleagues. So infinitely variable, a wonderful database. Here's a screenshot where you see that we found 9 books by searching on the subject astronomy. Here you'll see some books in language, you'll see new books and older books. So a whole range, depending upon what your interests are and what your colleagues' interests are. You can search on just about anything. Well, we were so immersed in doing databases, we thought, what about verse novels? We had 2 colleagues, Catherine Apple and Sally Murphy, both of whom are verse novelists, have created really very attractive verse novels. And we thought, most people don't really know very much about verse novels. And we had identified 63 in Australia for secondary and upper primary school. And these are easy to read. They are stories in verse or sometimes free verse. They're short, they're emotional, they're strong. And we wanted to share these. So we created 2 of these for younger and older readers. So this is if you were searching on one particular book. This is Cheryl Clark's Mina and the Whole Wide World. So you'll see that we've included a short annotation. The readership is primary. We have a range of themes, so you can search on those. Curriculum links are added again. And the beauty of this is there are a lot of free resources in here. If you click on any of those, you'll come up with perhaps the teaching notes or review or an article or the author's website or the illustrator's website. So a really useful way to introduce these sorts of books that might be appealing to some kids who want a shorter read, something that's short and to the point. Meanwhile, in the background, we were still growing our collection. By now, we have 30 Australian publishers donating their books. Before I go any further, I want to point out to you that all the words that are underlined are hyperlinks. So come back later and visit this site. And you can look at the publishers who are donating. You can look at our catalog. You can look at our artwork, authors' papers, and research files. So those are links to our website. These days, we have 53,000 books cataloged in our collection. And when it came to the University of Canberra, there were 1,000, a big growth. We now have 5,400 translations in 68 different languages. We have 80 collections of illustrators' artworks, authors' papers, publishers, and business archives. And one thing I haven't mentioned too much about was Lou Reese decided it was important to know more about authors and illustrators. So she began collecting newspaper articles and reviews and theatre programs and so forth to create these research files. When they came to the University of Canberra, there were 50 files. There's now 550 research files on every major Australian author and illustrator, occupying 90 linear meters of space. We still want to connect with kids, and we still want to connect with university students and everyone. On one of these images, you'll see university students who are studying a cultural unit at the University of Canberra. And what they're poring over is Graham Bass's Animalia. They'd never seen that book before, totally mesmerized. On the other side, you see a group of kindergarten children who are visiting an exhibition of artwork. We hold the artwork by the Children's Book Council of Australia for the Children's Book Week. So we decided to hold an exhibition of that and invited kids of all ages to come and see it. This is the kindergarten children expressing their feelings about stories after hearing Bob Graham talk about his stories. We continue to reach out. In any one year, we might have between 300 and 800 people visiting or communicating with us in one way or the other. We have a very big Facebook and Twitter following. And Facebook, we have 4,600 followers. Come and visit us. You see the hyperlink there. And on Twitter, what we want to do with Twitter is to promote Australian children's literature, but also to recognize how Australian children's literature fits into the world of children's literature. So come and visit us there. Also, come and see our website, and I recommend highly our little magnifying glass so that you can search on exactly what you want to find. We also have an e-journal called Behind the Imagine and an e-newsletter. Register for those, and they're totally free and available from our website. And one of the things we have enjoyed so much doing is collaborating with like-minded organisations like the Australian Children's Television Foundation or the Australian Children's Laureate Foundation or Institute of Democracy, any of those organisations. We all have common interests. And just finally, a thank you to our supporters, the University of Canberra, the Australian publishers, authors and illustrators, and the many children's literature enthusiasts across Australia. We love you, one and all.